Welcome to the Zaffie Show. We're happy to be here and hope that you will join us today. I'm going to get right into the subject today because time is passing, and I would like to introduce Mr. Eliot Cutler, and I'm sure you all know who he is, and now I will address him. Thank you for coming.
Great to be here, Zaffie. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
And well, there's so many things I'd like to ask you, and but I'm going to ask you first, how did you get interested in running for governor?
You know, that's the first question that people usually ask. Usually they ask, why are you running? What motivates you? What's driving you? And I'll tell you, there are two parts to the answer, and one's very personal, and one is has a lot to do with the situation we find ourselves in Maine today. The personal side of it is this. When I was growing up in Bangor, every Saturday, my grandfather would come to my home on Grove Street, pick me up, and we'd go for a bus ride for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
I didn't realize it then, but it was his way of helping my mother by getting me off her hands. But we would ride around Bangor on the municipal bus lines, which was the Hudson bus line. Nothing much changed from one Saturday to the next in Bangor in the 1940s and 50s, but it was how I got to know my grandfather and got to know his story. He grew up in a little village, a shtetl, in what was then in the 1880s the Russian Pale of settlements in the eastern part of the Tsarist Russia.
Ooh.
It's now Belarus and near Lithuania, but in those days it was all part of the Tsarist Empire. In those days, the Tsar drafted young boys into his army at the age of 15.
Oh.
And so his parents, my grandfather's parents, my great-grandparents, your great-grandparent, his parents didn't want that to happen to him, so they put him on a ship bound for Halifax, for North America. He was 12 years old. He didn't have any money. He didn't have any family with him. And yeah, it's amazing. And he obviously didn't speak English. Someone in his village or on the ship before he got to Halifax had said to him, when you get to North America, go to Bangor. Who knew, right? Mm-hmm. So he did. He made his way to Bangor from Halifax. A family took him in off the street. This is in 1889. They taught him English. He became a peddler, and he spent the first 7 years of his life in America, from the age of 12 to the age of 19, walking from Bangor to Calais and back on Route 9 on the airline. Very dark, bleak, lonely road. He left the road when he was about 20. He met the woman who became my grandmother. They got married, and they had 3 daughters. Catherine was my mother. She was the oldest, and her 2 sisters were Geneva and Lucille. And my grandfather started a small store on Exchange Street in Bangor. And he lost that store in the Great Depression, the beginning of the Great Depression, just at about the time his daughters were ready to graduate from high school.
Oh.
My mother went to college at Wellesley College in Massachusetts.
Good for her.
On a scholarship, got a degree, an advanced degree, a master's degree in economics. Her 2 sisters went to the University of Maine in Orono. Both of them got advanced degrees. And all that time, my grandfather had no income, had lost his store. It was the middle of the Depression. 3 women in the 1930s, all of them getting advanced degrees.
Wonderful.
Daughters of a peddler. Now, it is a wonderful story.
It is.
But it's a story that every one of us has somewhere in our histories. Mm. You have it, I have it, the folks in your audience have it. Someone, or maybe more than one, of our forebears came to America and found what Teddy Roosevelt called a substantial equality of opportunity. Not a guarantee of success, but a shot, a fair shot, a chance.
A chance.
A chance.
And they had the focus and the drive to go do it.
Right. Now, here we are in the 21st century, 150 years or so after my grandfather came to America, a little less than 140 years. There isn't that opportunity for too many people in Maine.
No.
And that's why I'm running. I want to restore that kind of opportunity. That's why my book is called A State of Opportunity. And the second and related reason is exactly that we're not providing opportunity in Maine today.
We're not.
We have, over the since Angus King left office, who was, I think, the last great governor we've had. When Angus left office 11 years ago, a little more than 11 years ago, Maine's economic activity, neck and neck with Massachusetts, ahead of Connecticut, ahead of Rhode Island, ahead of Vermont, way ahead of the national average. 11 years later, after 8 years of John Baldacci, now 3 years of Paul LePage, our economic activity is lower than it was 11 years ago, way behind every other state in New England, way behind the national average. And it's not just the numbers, it's people. It's our friends and neighbors who are struggling to get by, just to get by, in a state that's been a victim, I think, of partisan politics. That's why I'm running.
Do you think you can do anything about that?
I do, and that's why I wrote the book. It's called A State of Opportunity. People can download it from our website, which is cutlerformaine.com. You can download it. You can write us, and we'll send you a copy. But you can download it and read it on your device. It's a plan to make Maine smarter, healthier, stronger, younger, and more prosperous. I am certain that we can do this. We have published a lot of other policy proposals, including yesterday, I should say, we released our welfare reform.
I was just going to ask you about that. Why do they call us a welfare state?
We have a big problem in Maine. We have too many folks who are on welfare, who are depending on all the rest of us to get by. In part, it's because our economy has been in the tank for 11 long years. I mean, we're in a real tailspin in Maine. That's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is that we have created a welfare system that's very sticky. It doesn't let people go. It doesn't push people into work. It doesn't help people get educated and get a job. And it doesn't force people to begin to take care of themselves. There are a lot of people who need help, but there are an awful lot of people who need the kinds of help that we're not giving them, and then need to be reintroduced to the workforce. And what I released yesterday was a plan not only to control the fraud and waste and abuse, and Mr. LePage has made some good suggestions in that arena, he just hasn't done anything, but also it's a plan to get people out of welfare and into the workforce. That's what he hasn't done. That's what we need to do.
But we need jobs.
We need jobs, but the only way we're going to get jobs is if we have a workforce in Maine that's ready to replace all of our skilled workers who are just a little bit younger than I am. The average age of the skilled workforce in Maine is now in its 50s. We're the oldest state in America, getting older faster than any other state. We need young people to take care of you and me.
True.
We need to make Maine younger. And we need to make Maine not only younger, but that younger workforce has to be well-trained and well-educated and healthy.
Don't you think there's a lot of laws that keep people from starting businesses and making a success of it, small businesses?
I do. And one of the proposals in my book is I've said, when I'm elected governor, right down the hall from me in the office of the governor is going to be the office of the Grim Repealer. And there's going to be someone, a man or a woman, who is going to be called the Grim Repealer. And their job, that person's job, is to figure out what all of the rules and regulations are in the state of Maine that we don't need, that aren't working,
That's a good idea.
that are wrong, and he or she is going to come to me and say, this is what we ought to do to modify, change, repeal, replace those rules and regulations, and I'll work with the legislature to get it done.
I can remember when I was growing up, my father didn't
I
like...
wish I could.
He was an immigrant, and he didn't like working in the mill because he was creative. And so he opened a store. And even my husband, when he got out of the Army, if you worked long and hard, you could make a go of it.
Yes, you could.
But today, I don't know.
Well, you know, one of the problems in Maine, big problem, I think, is that we've lost a lot of our mojo.
You what?
Mojo. It's a term that people younger than we are use a lot.
Oh.
But what it means is that we've lost a lot of our self-confidence, our confidence in ourselves and our confidence in our state. You know, we've become almost accustomed to being 49th in this and 50th in this and not doing well. We need to believe again in the state of Maine. I do. I know that we can succeed, and I don't want a governor who's talking down the rest of the state, who's talking down our schools, talking down our teachers, talking down our kids. We need, more than almost anything, to restore self-confidence in this state, and I'm going to lead the way to do that.
That's good. I'm going beyond the state right now. Our government needs to keep out of education. We don't need people that don't know about education and teaching kids, making our schedules and our programs and telling them what to do.
You know,
I don't believe in that.
I want someone running the Department of Education in the state of Maine who has been an educator, who has run a big agency or a big business, who knows how to manage well, who is committed to kids, who is committed to making sure that opportunity in Maine isn't determined by the affluence of children's parents or by the zip code where they live. That's what I'm looking for. I think that if we find the right people and put them in charge and hold them accountable, we're going to get results.
I think education's so important.
It is. It's, you know, I wouldn't have been successful. I wouldn't have been running for governor if it hadn't been for the public schools in Bangor, Maine. I remember the name of every single teacher whom I had from kindergarten on through grade school, junior high school in those days, and high school. I see them in my mind's eye. I am deeply, deeply grateful to every single one of them. And I believe that every child in Maine ought to have the chance that I had. And that's why I'm running.
And another thing, we've got wood and we've got water and we've got
land,
and we should make things and sell them and ship them overseas and sell them. But keep our companies here.
You know, Zaffie, when I was growing up, we in Maine competed and found opportunity in a marketplace of about 150 to 200 million people. The United States of America. That was really about it. Today, we live and compete in a world marketplace of 6 to 8 billion people. Now that means that some of the things that we used to do a lot of in Maine aren't going to be as competitive in that bigger world market than they used to be. You sort of wrote about this in your column, I think.
I do.
But, you know, we have unbelievable resources, our land, our water, our seacoast, our people, our communities. And that those competitive advantages, what we're better at than anyone else, that's what people want to come, and that's why people want to come and live here and visit here. And we've got to begin investing again in our competitive advantages.
And also, I hate going to the grocery. You're supposed to be doing the talking, not me.
I'm interviewing you.
It sounds like that.
But I enjoy that.
I don't like going to the grocery store and having to buy blackberries from Mexico and strawberries from Chile. We've got the climate here. Why can't we buy them USA?
Let me ask you a question. Do you like buying, when I was growing up, we couldn't buy berries in Bangor, Maine, except in the summer. Today, we can buy berries year-round. Now, I don't know about you. I love berries.
I do too.
Okay. So it's not a bad thing that we can buy berries they're expensive sometimes, but we can buy berries in the winter because we're able to import them because we can't grow them here. Right.
But go ahead.
Now, I'm working on a project right now to build solar-powered greenhouses with big spans from the University of Maine's Bridget or Backpack technology that will bring year-round agriculture to northern climates like Maine and do it cost-effectively. Now, if this works, and I think it will, we'll buy berries grown all year round in Maine.
I won't care how much they cost if they're good.
Can I take that to the bank?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something.
I don't have to buy many.
I'll tell you, I've started 8 successful businesses in my life. This is number 8. And I am excited by those prospects. But in the meantime, before we grow those berries here in Maine in the winter, I don't know about you, but I love strawberries.
I do too.
So I'll buy them when they're imported.
Well, I won't buy them the first day, but I'll go back the second day and I buy them.
Okay, that makes sense, because you get to the better berries that way.
Well, when I was little, really young, we'd go out in the fields and pick wild strawberries. We were little. And we'd go home,
I love wild
the neighbor kids and I, and we'd go home and squeeze them, and we thought we had wine.
Wild strawberries were my father's favorite food in the world. And we used to go out and pick them, little tiny wild strawberries. And they're so sweet.
We didn't even wash them.
So, well, that might have been okay then, but you'd better wash them now.
Not today, I know.
You'd better wash them now.
Yeah, I know. Okay, that's about. So what would you like to tell us?
Well, I think the most important thing I'd like to say today is this. You know, I've been trying to get people my 2 opponents, Mr. Michaud and Mr. LePage, to debate, because I think it's really important for voters.
Yeah, it is.
Voters deserve to know about the candidates in some way other than seeing millions and millions of dollars of paid television, 30-second ads. They deserve to see candidates debating with each other face to face. Well, Mr. LePage and Mr. Michaud don't want to do that. Now they've finally agreed to have some debates in October, beginning in mid-October. Now
that's pretty late.
Voting begins in September. Mr. LePage and Mr. Michaud believe that we ought to have debates first and ask questions later. Now, I think it ought to be the other way around. I think most voters think it ought to be the other way around. So what I've said to voters is, don't vote early. You know, 24% of Maine voters voted early last time. Wait for the debates. A lot of people who voted early last time wish they hadn't. Look what we got. So today, I'm saying to folks, wait for the debates, then make up your mind. You'll have plenty of time to vote. That's the first thing I'd like to say. The other thing I think we ought to talk about for at least a couple of minutes is how hard it is for seniors in Maine to get by right now.
As I told you, I've been asking friends, or different ages. I said, Mr. Cutler's coming on my show. What shall I ask him? And mostly about seniors and what they're going through.
We have two huge problems in Maine right now. The first is that we simply don't have the kinds of facilities, nursing homes, assisted living, and so forth, that we need to take care of an increasing population of senior citizens.
And it looks like we're going to be increasing more.
Well, I'm going to be a senior. I am a senior. I mean, I get senior citizen rates. I'm 68.
I'm a senior.
You're more senior than I am. The other part of the problem, though, is this. Not only because we don't have the facilities, nursing homes and assisted living facilities, not only because we don't have those facilities, but also because most of us want to age in place. We want to live in our own homes. And in Maine today, because of our governor's policy of cutting the state off from the federal government and cutting the state off from towns and cities, because of those crazy policies, we have property taxes that are going through the roof all over the state of Maine. Now, there are people, thousands of people in Maine, who own their own homes, who are my age or your age or somewhere in between, who paid off their mortgage debt. They own their own home free and clear. But they can't afford the operating costs anymore. They can't afford the taxes. They can't afford to stay in their homes.
They can't afford the oil.
They can't afford the oil.
To keep warm.
Right.
They can't afford to get health care.
Exactly. Now, I can't do a whole lot about the oil.
Oh, I know what you said.
But I can do something about property taxes. And I've proposed, and people can find it on our website, I've proposed a way to cut property taxes for median Maine homeowners by 20 to 40%. That's hundreds and hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars. Secondly, we can do something about health care. We can take the federal money, and should have taken the federal money, to expand Medicaid so that no one in Maine goes without health care. I want universal access to primary and secondary preventive care, a medical home for every man, woman, and child in the state of Maine. Not only because it's the morally right thing to do, but because it's the financially smart thing for the state of Maine to do. Every hospital in Maine right now is already back in the red.
They're joining together.
This is crazy. We can't afford the kind of callous, dumb decision-making that we have been seeing from both political parties. We can't afford the kind of partisan fighting we're seeing. We need to solve problems. We need to be smart. We need to be bold. We need to be independent. And we need to grow Maine's economy again and provide jobs for everyone in the state who is able-bodied and can work. We need to raise our standard of living, increase our incomes, deal with the problems that our elderly in Maine are facing, and once again be a place not only where people want to live, but where they can make a living.
Sounds good.
You know, I am really confident that we can do this, all of us together. I've never done anything successfully in my life by myself, alone. I listen to what other people have to say. I listen to others' ideas. I don't care whether it's a good idea is a good idea. It's as simple as that. I don't care whether it's a Democrat's idea, a Republican's idea, an independent's idea, Zaffie's idea, someone else's idea. If it's a good idea, it's a good idea. And we can use good ideas and solve our problems. Right. We need to stop thinking about ourselves as Democrats or Republicans and start thinking about ourselves as Mainers.
That's right. That's right. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think our time is up. I want to thank you.
I've enjoyed this. It's wonderful.
I do
to
too.
spend time with you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
And now when I go back, Well, they're going to say to me, well, what did you ask him?
Tell him to watch the show.
I will.
Okay.
You know, though my crew doesn't watch it.
Well, ask them to please watch it. Don't tell them.
You know, we are on internet and worldwide.
Oh, good.
And
Good.
we're in Saco now, too, Biddeford. No, they
Saco,
watch it.
Biddeford, and the rest of the world.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, folks, that's our show for today. I enjoyed it, and I asked some questions that I wondered about. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a really warm day today, but enjoy it because we're going into September. And the weather's bound to change. So stay healthy and see you next week. Love, Zaffie. That's
Bye.
it.
Thank you.